Hey everyone, Joe Menza here, and once again I'm back doing another painting video, and I'm using the same as the last one. I'm using the Master's Touch brushes and supplies and paper. And I thought I'd do something a little different this time. I was painting the weekend of Mother's Day, and I thought it might be nice to do some Mother's Day flowers. You know, you can always give a painting as a gift, and it's a lot of fun. This time I'm using gouache. I'm using crimson and ultramarine blue with a little water on the brush, and I'm making sort of a background. We're doing sort of a take on a still life type flower arrangement. And so I thought it'd be nice to have these red and blue combinations, sort of a purpley background, and just have it there as just as a backdrop for our flower bouquet. And you can make this as dark as you want, and also you could do the same thing for skies too. I found that doing this sort of swirly brush pattern can make for a nice sky pattern. See how you find things just experimenting. No white in this, and I thought, well, I'll throw a little more red in here. That's the fun thing about doing a background, is it doesn't have to necessarily look like a sky. You could just get some colors in there and just kind of fiddle around. And that's what I'm doing here. I'm getting a little red and a little blue and a little purple. And I'm thinking there's going to be some red in the flowers, some yellow in the flowers, of course, green. And that would make for a nice backdrop, a nice contrasting background. So on the bottom, obviously, we're going to have a surface that we're going to lay on. So I'm just kind of making some sideways strokes, and that will be the basis for a table that will ultimately be sitting there. And again, I'm using almost all gouache here. You can use watercolor. The reason I'm using gouache is just because when you put the flowers over the top, I'm looking for more opaque. I'm looking for something that's going to stand out, and I want to be able to not necessarily do transparent watercolor. I want that sort of kind of going into almost an oil painting or acrylic look, with still the benefits of the excitement of watercolor. And that's the great thing about gouache, is that you can overpaint things. You can paint over other colors, and then you're going to cancel out the color underneath for the most part. So now I'm taking this crimson red, same color really that I used in the background, just very strong out of the tube, and I'm just using the fan brush, and I'm just going to make sort of a bowl. And I'm mixing that again with the blue, stronger colors, actually the same colors from the background. And I'm using the blue and red to create sort of a light side and a dark side of the bowl. And so I'm just putting in the red there and sort of blending it down. And that's creating a shadow side. And then, of course, the roundness of the bowl, just using the dark across there and just creating sort of a three-dimensional bowl. Now, you can do yours in the shape of a vase. I didn't do a vase because I didn't do this vertical, so I didn't have enough really room to stand up and down. So I thought a nice bowl of flowers, something Mother's Day-y. When you buy Mother's Day flowers, you're not necessarily buying like a romantic vase of flowers, say for, your spouse or whomever. But a bowl of flowers, like a sort of a bowl. And, one of these interesting, I was looking through some of the bouquets of flowers. And you can get ideas by going on Pixabay and looking at some. There's at least 20 pages of flowers in arrangements on that page. There is no shortage of those. But what I like to do is I like to look in my mind and come up with some ideas and just paint from my own imagination, my own memory. I think it comes out more fresh that way and more spontaneous. So you can see we have the shadow. The background has dried. And we have an interesting looking background. Okay, so for the bottom, I've put a little darker color on the bottom. Now, if you go a little too dark with this, or you just want to take like a tissue like I'm doing, you can kind of pull it like I did for the shadows in the last video that I did, and just kind of rub the paint into the surface, and it makes an immediate shadow without the paint looking too heavy. So it's a great way to just create an immediate shadow. Just put a little dark paint on there. Of course, the trick is a realistic shadow. Like, you have to kind of know where the light's coming from. Have a little bit of a shadow on the table. Convincing enough. So now I've gone into some viridian green. And I'm using some indigo and, of course, the blue kind of together. And I'm just kind of creating some sporadic green leaves and mixing that with a little bit of yellow, a little bit of lemon yellow. Again, these are all gouache colors except for the indigo. I'm using indigo. That's another Master's Touch color because I really like it, and it gets me to darks very quickly. I like it more than Payne's Gray. I used to use mainly Payne's Gray, and now I'm into this indigo color. And one day I will try a gouache indigo, but I'll probably have to get a different brand because I am interested in what other, gouache brands of indigo. Daniel Smith makes a very fine indigo color. But it's more expensive. The Master's Touch, you can get those for about $3 from Hobby Lobby. And you'll notice I'm putting a little more on the darker side where the darker side of the bowl is. I'm making the leaves a little darker over there by mixing in a little more blue and a little more indigo. So we've got our light coming from the right side. I mixed a little bit of white in there. You can see I can make that even lighter there. But that's almost a little too kind of iridescent green, so I prefer a little bit more of the yellow green. But it'll keep it unique. So I can always go back over. See, that's the beauty of gouache. And if you just want to have some fun with gouache, just go and you can get a pack when it's on sale. You can get a $10 pack of there's 6 gouache colors in there, I believe. You can get those for like $5. I mean, you can get a really good deal on those. So now I'm going back into that very same red, and I'm using that to make my flowers. Now, something about these flowers, I'm just calling these fast and loose flowers. Are they roses? What are they? I'm keeping them somewhat ambiguous. If you want to sit and paint like exact flower, exact rose, and you enjoy that, that's fine. I'm looking more for the colors here, more when you stand back from it. You can just tell it's flowers without being a botanist or a floral expert. And so that's what I'm doing here. I'm just putting in the red, and then we'll put some various, mix a little white in there and create a little bit. And all you really got to do is make 1 or 2 flowers look convincing, and the rest can be sort of backdrops. You could just put a little white in there, and you see all of a sudden now you've got sort of these rose-looking things. And I'm using the fan brush, and I'm just doing this very loosely. I'm not sitting there and painting, with a round brush details. But if you're really into flowers and you want to make them specific where someone looks at it and says, oh, that's a daffodil, or what have you, then by all means, if you're having a good time. For me, I figure I just get the colors in there and, make it look, somewhat like a flower. Now here I come with some yellow. Yeah, you can use yellow, lemon yellow if you wanted a very bright yellow, or yellow ochre. And yellow ochre will give you a more of a warmer yellow. And I'm just kind of putting these in between, trying to keep it balanced out as if it, a floral arrangement would be. So again, just coming in and just sitting back and looking, does it look right to me? Is kind of what I'm doing. Do I need another little red flower on top? And just trying to make it look like a nice balanced out bowl of flowers. For me, the red on top of the purple background really makes it pop. And if you get enough eye-popping colors and get really nice contrast, people will appreciate it without necessarily sitting there and going, oh, what kind of flowers? It doesn't look like a flower, so you can kind of get away with it. And again, adding a little white in there, and just kind of a little white with the red, a little white with the yellow, and just it looks like petals of flowers. And then just taking that same color, and I'm making a highlight mark around the top of the bowl, and I'll do the same thing. I'll make a highlight mark on the right side of the bowl, so it looks like there's a little shine coming off the bowl. But I'm making it look like there's a little bit of a shine on the rim. And again, it's by using these same colors. We only used about 5 or 6 colors here. The yellow, the red, the green, the indigo, and the white. And then I'm just going to take this. I'm just going to pop a few little things out because, even if it is a nicely arranged pot of flowers, you'd still have some little twiggy type things sticking up. And again, it's up to you. And you could take a toothbrush and you can flick things too if you want to create like little tiny, really you can kind of do whatever you want. You can make it as detailed or as abstract as you like. And I'm just going to work on the little shadow a little bit on the table and take a little bit of white and just kind of drag some white across the table, and it'll start to kind of look like a tablecloth. See, just by sort of dry brushing that white on the top, and then you have the little bit of color underneath, it just, without really working hard at it, it almost looks like there's a tablecloth sitting underneath those flowers. And it really creates for a nice, unique effect. And from here, I mean, I'm pretty much done with this. I'm just going to look at it and, look for some little details, some little minor things. But other than that, it's pretty much good to go, and sign and let it dry, put it in a frame, and give it to whomever is Valentine Day gift or, whatever. Or you can even print it and, buy the greeting cards. You can buy greeting cards online, the Avery. And if you have a nice color printer, you can print out your own cards, Mother's Day, Valentine Day, birthday, whatever. It's a nice way to do handcrafted gifts. Or even sell them. If you're doing a show, if you're learning how to paint and you want to start doing craft shows, you can do different painting. You can paint, you can have prints. You can whip out a few flower paintings pretty quickly. And flowers always go in any home. I mean, people want to put them in living room or even in the bathroom. I always joke about the bathroom, but like, where do people put like art at? They put art by their desk or in the bathroom or in the kitchen in their house. Sometimes living rooms, they'll do a big scene or something, but typically these small paintings, you're looking for a little wall to just kind of decorate and have something pleasant to look at. Maybe you have another thing that's kind of neat. I found you can go buy in Michael's or Hobby Lobby is they have these they're like easel stands. They're just like wire that's like been formed into like kind of an angle, and then you can take a frame and you can set it inside, or you can mount the picture to like a piece of wood or something, and you can use that and stand it on a table. I'll show you a picture of how I have it set up in another post, and you'll get an idea. But it's a very nice way to display paintings, and I'll change them out. I'll change the paintings out rather than take the painting off the wall and put another painting inside. I'll take the whole thing out and I'll just put it in this metal bracket. They call them like portable easels or something. So here going forward, I'm just going to do some little detail stuff. Little red there. Too much pink on that one, see? So you sit back and you say, what can I do to make that look a little shadowy on that side, and just take a little contrast of the red. Bring back a little bit of that red. They got a little too pink. Need a little more red pop. Or maybe you don't want to use any pink and you just want really red flowers. It's up to you. Try it 2-3 different ways, And then see a little white highlight in there. And that looks like a very realistic. You see how we can make that look realistic? And you won't even bother with the other flowers. You ever notice in some of these movies where they have a lot of characters in like Planet of the Apes, back in the day, as they got into more and more movies, you'd notice the people on camera, they had the like nicer makeup. And if you watched it later when you could pause things and slow it down, you'd notice like some of the background characters, they didn't have the money put into the effects of their costumes. And in the background ones, they were just like masks that they threw on. And nobody really would notice. It's just enough as the camera's running that you wouldn't notice. It's the same thing here. If you can make the foreground ones look realistic, it'll sell the rest of them. And it's a neat trick. So again, just touching up a little bit of this yellow. I don't even know what kind of flowers these would be, honestly. Carnations or something. I'm not a flower expert. But again, if you're looking at a photo and you want to emulate exactly, an exact species of flower, then you can, use that picture as your guide. And of course, sometimes if I have a lot of paint on the paper, I might give it a little spray, like with my continuous spray bottle. Not too much, don't want it to run, but just enough to kind of melt those colors together. Okay, so here's what I mentioned earlier. We're going to put a little shine on the lip of the bowl and then put a little shine on where the light might be striking the exterior of the bowl. And I do that with the same red and a little white mixed in with it. So it's really the same colors that we're already using. There's nothing special there. And you can use any brush you like. I try to limit it down. Using the Hake type brush, fan brush. I do have a rigger brush. I really only use that for tree branches and sticks and things. And then I'll have a flat brush if I need it. I don't hardly use that at all. And then a round brush if I'm doing like city scenes and I need to do people. I'll go to the round brush. And that's really it. Want to keep it simple. Simple number of paints, simple number of brushes. And then, of course, different sizes within the brush. I like to have 2-3 fan brushes, 2-3 Hake styles. 1 rigger is fine. So again, just a few little minor things. You don't want to overwork it. You don't want to get fussy with it. It's just if there's something that sticks out in your eye and you go, oh, I got to fix that or I got to do that. Sometimes you do. We all do it. So let's get a look at what this looks like with a man on it. That always is a nice final look. And here it is with the matte, and that really brings it together. Let's zoom in. You can see all the little details that really we didn't plan on. A little shine, a little bit on the bowl. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed this one. I hope you give it a try yourself. And we'll see you next time.